This episode of Recent Record Pickups is brought to you by Japanese IPA, based out of Akita, Japan. Because, hey, might as well drink any beer that has a picture of an Oni on it. By the way, this episode was not sponsored in any way, shape, or form by Japanese beer. What's going on, everybody? This is Sean of Raw Select Music. I am back with yet another episode of Recent Record Pickups. I just picked up some new records from my preferred spot for buying records online in Japan, Shop Jet Set. And this time around, I actually ended up going mostly with 45's. I know that generally I tend to feature a few 45's every time that I do one of these videos, but this time I went all in as there were a ton of 45's that I really wanted to get my hands on. And I had a pretty good feeling that they were going to sell out because they had already been sold out for quite some period of time. And one of the wonderful things about Jet Set is they will send SMS messages to you and let you know when records are back in stock, which is a great thing if you really don't like money and you have no self-control. But anyways, I do feel like that I had some gems here. I also picked up an LP not only from Jet Set, but also from a local record store. And I thought, what the hell? Might as well share a bunch of the new goodies that I picked up. And yeah, let's dig into some of these guys. So this first record that I have right here by the Monophonics is apparently all covers. The one track that I picked it up for, Bang Bang, I know the Nancy Sinatra version of that song, but I didn't realize that it was written by Sonny Bono. Learn something new every day. And then on the back of it, the flip side has a track called Thinking Black, which I'm not really that familiar with, but apparently it was written by Ike Turner. So that's pretty cool. I've always been interested in the Monophonics. I think from what I've heard, they've got some really funky drums and they've got sort of a sunny California sort of psychedelic vibe going with a lot of their music. This was gently used on Jet Set, so I figured for 900 yen or $9 bucks, might as well check it out. And from the little bits and pieces that I've heard of this, it was money well spent. It's actually a damn good IPA. Since I have sort of an obsessive compulsive behavior to check out records on Jet Set, I've been seeing a lot of these edits of sort of classic funk soul jazz samples popping up in 7-inch form on the website. So much so that it's really hard to keep up with them because they've been coming out on seemingly a weekly basis. But this one really struck a chord with me because I recognized the sample immediately, and I really like what they did with the edit and putting the sample at the beginning of the track to just sort of give you that sort of instant gratification. And one thing that was really cool, I didn't realize that the edit is done by this duo called Funky Soul Brother. And Funky Soul Brother are apparently Southpaw Chop and DJ Coco, aka Shimokita. And they're both two really big diggers in Japan, and they're sort of like the next generation of DJs after DJ Muro and DJ Crush. And they're really keeping the 45 game alive, and I really like the fact that they've been putting out 7 inches like this because I'm always a big fan of collecting samples and classic breaks and stuff like that, but I'm generally not a really big fan of paying a shit ton of money to have it on LP just to have one really famous sample on it. So just being able to have it on a 7-inch like this makes me really happy. So I'm really glad that I picked this up because this record almost sold out immediately. Next up, we got another Timian record release. I pretty much go for any Timian record release that comes out these days, especially when it features these guys right here, Cold Diamond and Mink. I love their instrumentals and sort of in-house funk soul groups right now. I don't think you can get much colder than Cold Diamond and Mink. These guys really just, their jazz funk soul game is so tight. These guys do like mellow grooves so well. A lot of hard drums, some really cool organs, and just some really good mellow shit. I'm really glad that I picked this up. And most of the time they have instrumentals on one side, and then they've got the vocal on the other. And I'm not that familiar with Amelia Cisco, but her vocals seemed pretty cool on this. My main focus was getting the instrumental, because these records do also tend to sell out pretty quickly on Jet Set Records, so I'm glad I jumped on this when I did. That really is a good IPA. All right, next up we got two records from the same label. One is The Diplomats of Solid Sound featuring The Diplomats, Come In My Kitchen, and Wicked One Hop. And this is just some really hard-hitting, drum-heavy funk and soul. And it had been sold out on Jet Set Records for a while now. When it finally came back into stock, I knew that I had to have it. And then speaking of records that were sold out, this record's so good I had to buy doubles of it. This is Black Cat, and good God, the drums on this record are just absolutely bananas. The first track, Loving You by John Watson, is just like some really, really slow, sluggish kind of psychedelic funk, and I love that shit. That was the main reason that I picked this guy up, and actually the main reason that I bought doubles of it, because breaks for days on this. And then on the back, you have Kingston Cordova, which I believe is a cover based on the fact that it's got Aaron Neville's name on it. I believe is a cover of The Meters. Haven't really listened to this one that much yet in detail, but the little bits and pieces of it that I've heard, a lot of drums on this, so lots of breaks. Glad I bought doubles of it, because this is definitely a record that I know I'm going to want to go back and forth on, and I'm really glad that I picked it up. Glad that I picked this one up too. So if you run across these fraternity 45's, definitely worth grabbing, especially if you're a drum break fanatic like myself. All right, then closing out 45's, this was a 45 that I wish I probably paid a little bit closer attention to, but I'm still happy to have nonetheless. And this is JD 45. One is the Mr. Thing edit of Rico Suave Bossa Nova. One of the tracks that I really like off of JD's Welcome to Detroit album is Rico Suave Bossa Nova. The melody on this track is just absolutely undeniable, and it really shows off that JD not only had skills as a sampler, but also as a musician, because I think he played a lot of the instruments on this track as well. And then on the flip side, one of the highlight hip-hop tracks on Welcome to Detroit, Come and Get It on 45 with Elzai. Really dig this track, and I'm always just happy to have more hip-hop on 45, and the main reason for that is a lot of the times now when I'm DJing, I tend not to bring 12 inches or LPs to gigs, because it's kind of a pain in the ass to have to lug them around, but it's actually so much easier to carry around a bunch of 45's, and the more 45, the more I can get away from playing with 12 inches and LPs and focusing specifically on just playing 45's, the happier that I am. So I'm happy to add this to my collection. And taking a brief little detour away from talking about the rest of the records that I picked up, do want to specifically mention that recently on my Mixcloud page, I posted my J Dilla tribute mix as part of my ongoing Raw Select Radio series. Please check it out if you can. It may have gotten blocked in your country depending on where you are. If that's the case, sorry about that. But please do check that out. I did a 2-hour all J Dilla produced remix tracks from the legendary producer, and I'm really happy with the way that it came out. It'd be really appreciated if you'd give it a listen, or any of the Raw Select Radio shows that I do. Links for that sort of stuff, as always, is down in the description. And now, back to your regular scheduled program, right after this. That really is a solid IPA. All right, my last two records, LPs, we got Even, Glen Astro, and Adjacent, released on Money Sex Records. This was a record that I had been very curious about for the longest time. I'm a big fan of Glen Astro. I think he does sort of left field electronica better than a lot of the producers out there, and I'm really glad that I picked this up. I've listened to it a little bit over the last day or so as of recording this. This is some of the coolest mixing of electronic music in jazz I think I ever heard. The only thing that's kind of disappointing about it is that I really wish it was longer, but this is a solid record. If the idea of electronic music and jazz sort of coming together to make this big, beautiful, colorful cake as represented on this beautiful, beautiful album cover. Definitely give this a listen. I'm definitely gonna be doing a review on this record in the not too distant future. And then last, we got an old record. This is Freddie Hubbard, High Energy, a record that I don't really know all that much about, but I am a fan of Freddie Hubbard. I have actually, in terms of all the sort of soul jazz and funky jazz funk records that I have in my collection, I think Freddie Hubbard actually makes up the highest percentage of them. So he's generally like sort of one of my go-to names when it comes to blindly buying jazz funk records. One of the cool things about this record for me really was there's a cover of Stevie Wonder's Too High on here. It's a really, really solid cover. And the rest of the tracks on here are pretty cool. Finding the right balance between sort of classic hard bop, post bop sort of jazz and some of the funkier sort of jazz. And it doesn't fall too much into light, smooth jazz territory all that much, despite the fact that it was, it was released in 74. 74, you're still good. So yeah, if you stumble across this, I do not think this is a particularly expensive jazz record. I recommend giving this guy a listen. And I kind of, in the future, as a potential YouTube video, I might give you some tips and tricks for if you go into a record store blindly and you're looking to pick up some jazz funk. There's some things that you can always look out for to make your life a lot easier, especially if they don't have a record player to preview anything there. But that is idea for a potential video in the future. If you like the sound of that idea, hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you'd like to see me do a video like that in the future. Always looking forward to hearing more from you guys. Ooh, oh, that is nice. So that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Thanks as always for watching. If you've listened to any of the records that I've talked about in this video, let me know what you thought about them down in the comments. And as I stated midway through the video, please, please, please head over to my Mixcloud, check out my Raw Select radio show, because that is basically the audio component, not only to this YouTube channel, but the WordPress and basically my whole Raw Select brand. And there you can hear not only some of the records that I talked about in this video, but also you can hear a whole assortment of all the different records that I have in my record collection. Also, before I forget, please head over to my WordPress or Steemit blogs, because that's where I'll be posting the audio links to any of the records that I talked about in this video. Links for everything is down in the description. So that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, peace out!